My son promised to visit me every week after I moved into assisted living. Months passed without a call. Then I found out he'd been using my pension for his business. But I had one legal clause he overlooked when he signed the power of attorney papers. I'm not the kind of person who talks about their business online, but I need to get this off my chest. I'm a 71-year-old woman, retired, widowed. And what my son did to me, it changed everything I thought I knew about family. My husband walked out on us when Derek was in the 2nd grade. Just never came home one night. No note, no call. I was left to raise him alone. I worked at Christ Hospital in Cincinnati for 33 years. Nights, holidays, double shifts. I missed more of his life than I care to admit, but I did what I had to. I wanted him to have choices I never had. Derek was always good with numbers, quick with words. He got a scholarship to UC, then went into finance. I was proud, so damn proud. He married young. Melanie was polite, I'll say that. But she was cold. Polished, upper middle class, country club upbringing. I was a nurse who smelled like antiseptic and drove a 10-year-old Buick. We didn't mix. Still, I thought she'd warm up. She didn't. They moved to a nicer part of town, Mason, Ohio. Big house, good schools for the kids. Derek kept saying, "You'll move close when you retire. You can help with the grandkids. We'll see you all the time." That thought kept me going some nights.
So I sold the house I raised him in.
Downsized. Moved into an assisted living facility not far from them. I still had my pension, some savings, and a bit of Social Security. More than enough to live on comfortably. He promised he'd visit every week. That first week, he came by for 20 minutes. Melanie didn't even get out of the car.
Then weeks went by.
Then months. I left voicemails. No answer. A few vague texts. Busy with the kids. Things are crazy at work. I told myself to be patient. I noticed little things. My prescriptions weren't getting filled. I asked the facility staff. They said there'd been issues with billing. That made no sense. My pension should have covered everything. I asked them to print the last 3-month statements. I'm not good with online stuff anymore, but I can read a bank ledger. That's when I saw it. Large transfers, $10,000 here, $7,500 there. Not to a personal account. A business one, listed under MDC Investments. I recognized the address. It was Derek's office. I sat there with that paper in my lap, and I felt this burning, slow heat crawl up my chest. My hands were trembling. I didn't cry.
Not then.
I called him. Straight to voicemail. I left a message. Call me.
Now.
Nothing. 2 more days. No call. So I called Rita. She was my maid of honor back in 1977 and spent her whole career working for a law firm. She brought me to her old boss, retired but still sharp. We went through everything. That's when it clicked. When I moved, Derek had me sign some power of attorney documents just in case something happened, he said. I trusted him. I didn't even read it that carefully. But thank God Rita had told me to add some protections. There was a clause in there, clear as day, saying he couldn't move more than $5,000 at a time without my written consent. He never read it. Or he thought I was too old or too dumb to notice.
We didn't go to the police.
Not yet. We started with quiet steps. Letters, notices, account freezes. I watched everything unravel from my little room in that assisted living place he abandoned me in. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to make him answer for every cent and every lie. After we froze the accounts and started gathering documents, Derek finally called me. First time in over 4 months. His voice was stiff, too polite, too controlled. Mom, I saw some alerts on the business account. Did you mess with something? I kept my voice steady. We need to talk. In person. He showed up that Sunday like nothing had happened. Dressed casual, clean-shaven, wearing that fake smile he uses when he's closing a deal. He brought coffee. Acted like we were just catching up. I laid out the printouts. Every transaction. Every signature. The clause from the power of attorney. His expression barely changed. You said I could help manage your money, he said, calm as anything. I only used it as a loan. I was going to pay it back. I still will.
You never asked, I said.
You just took it. And you left me here without even checking if I had heat, if I had food, if I was okay. He shrugged. Actually shrugged. I had a lot going on. You don't know how stressful running a business is. No, I said. But I know what betrayal feels like now. That's when he snapped a little. You're overreacting. It's not like you were using it. And don't act like you didn't sign off on this. You think I don't know what I signed? I added that clause myself. You missed it because you thought I was stupid.
His face changed then.
He didn't like being called out. He stood up, said something like, "You always make things so dramatic," and walked out. Rita's lawyer friend, Mr. Beeman, was already preparing to file a civil complaint. We contacted the Ohio Attorney General's Elder Abuse Division. I also gave the documents to Derek's bank. They opened an internal investigation. Then came the fallout. His wife Melanie emailed me, said I was destroying their family's reputation over a misunderstanding. She said the business was on the verge of a big investment, and this could ruin everything. She had the nerve to suggest I sign a waiver, saying I gave the money willingly, so things don't get messy. I ignored her. Then Derek started sending texts, long ones, about how this would affect his kids, how I was tearing apart the family. He even had the audacity to guilt-trip me, saying I wouldn't want the grandkids growing up without a father if this blew up. He still didn't apologize. Not once. I showed everything to the lawyer. He said we had enough to press charges if we wanted criminal and civil. Derek thought he had control because he had the paperwork. But he forgot who raised him. I worked myself into the ground to give him a better life. And he used that life to steal from me. Now, it was his turn to pay. Just when we thought we had him cornered, Derek made a move I didn't see coming. He filed a motion with the court claiming I was mentally unfit. He was trying to have me declared incompetent, said I had signs of early dementia, that I was being manipulated by old friends with grudges, and that the money transfers were part of a long-term care plan we'd supposedly agreed on. He even submitted a few old text messages taken out of context, trying to show I was forgetful or confused. When I got the paperwork, I sat on the edge of my bed and just stared at it. I thought I couldn't be shocked anymore. But this was different. He wasn't just stealing now, he was trying to erase my voice entirely. I went straight to Rita and Mr. Beeman. They were furious. Thankfully, I'd kept every email, voicemail, and written note. We gathered affidavits from the assisted living staff, who testified I was sharp, independent, and managing my own affairs. I also underwent a full cognitive evaluation by a licensed neurologist. I passed with flying colors. But that process, being tested, examined, questioned like I was a child, it broke something inside me. I'd spent my whole life taking care of others. Now I had to prove I was still allowed to make my own decisions because my own son said I wasn't. That stung deeper than any theft. A week after we filed our response to his motion, something interesting happened. A woman contacted Mr. Beeman. Her name was Angela, Derek's former executive assistant. She'd been laid off months earlier, without severance. She was angry, and she had emails. Angela forwarded several messages where Derek discussed using Mom's accounts as short-term liquidity. One email said, "She'll never notice. Old money just sits in the account collecting dust." He even joked about how the POA gave him blank check power. Angela also shared a bank document Derek had accidentally sent her. A PDF showing the money he took from me had been used not for investments, but for paying off personal debts and covering a defaulted loan from a failed project 2 years earlier. It wasn't even about growing the business. He was in deeper trouble than he let on. With that evidence, we had a whole new angle. But before we could act, Derek made another play. He sent someone to my facility. A woman in a business suit, holding a bunch of folders. She told the front desk she was helping me consolidate my finances. I wasn't expecting anyone that day, so the staff called me first. I told them to call security and not let her in. That's when I realized how far he was willing to go. Not just lying, not just stealing, but trying to physically intercept my documents and possibly forge signatures again. This wasn't just a civil issue anymore. Mr. Beeman escalated the case to law enforcement. We brought everything. Angela's files, the neurologist's report, financial records, even video footage of the woman he sent. I stayed quiet. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. But now, it wasn't just me coming for him. The system was, too. The detective from the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office sat with me for nearly 2 hours. I told him everything. Rita was there, and Mr. Beeman had already organized all the documents into labeled folders: bank statements, POA agreements, medical records, Angela's emails. The detective didn't say much, just took notes, nodded, and asked quiet follow-ups. Then he said, "You're not the first elderly parent to go through this. But you're the first one who came in with this much preparation." A week later, Derek was served. At work. He called me that night. "No, how are you? Just, how could you do this to me?" I didn't say anything at first. Let the silence sit there. "You know this could bankrupt me, right? Do you even understand what you've started?" "I'm finishing what you started," I said. "You made me into a problem. Now you're going to find out what it means to treat your own mother like a liability." He hung up. The criminal investigation triggered a full audit of his business. Turns out, I wasn't the only one he misled. He had borrowed money from Melanie's parents too, used their house as collateral without telling them. When they found out, things exploded. Melanie left with the kids and moved back in with her parents in Westchester. Filed for divorce 2 weeks later. Angela agreed to testify if needed. Turns out Derek had been moving client funds between accounts, robbing Peter to pay Paul. If the SEC got involved, it was going to be a whole different level of trouble. Still, the emotional toll was real. I'd lost sleep. My appetite was shot. I couldn't walk through the facility without feeling like everyone was whispering. Some were. People who heard parts of the story didn't know the whole truth. I was the woman whose son might go to prison. And I hated that I still cared what people thought. But every time I doubted myself, I looked at the paper trail. My life's work. My savings. My dignity. Derek had taken it all without flinching. Now the legal wheels were in motion. Depositions were being scheduled. A court date set for early fall. I hadn't seen him since that phone call. But I knew we'd be face to face again soon. And when that moment came, I was going to look him in the eye, not as his mother, not as his victim, but as the woman who refused to be erased. The courtroom was cold. Not physically, I mean the people, the atmosphere. Derek sat on the other side of the room, in a suit too expensive for someone about to answer for what he did. He didn't look at me once. The judge was firm and clear. The evidence spoke louder than either of us could. The documents, the emails, the bank statements. Angela's testimony. The neurologist's report confirming my competence. The clause in the power of attorney. It was all there. Neatly presented. Unshakable. Derek's lawyer tried to spin it as a family misunderstanding. Said Derek was merely trying to optimize his mother's assets.
The judge didn't buy it.
Not for a second. They ruled in my favor on every count. The court ordered Derek to repay every penny, over $82,000, with interest, plus $15,000 in punitive damages for breach of fiduciary duty. His business was already under review, and with the financial investigation now public, several of his clients pulled out. The firm folded less than a month later. The criminal side moved slower, but it hit harder. He was charged with elder financial abuse and fraudulent misuse of power of attorney. Angela's cooperation meant more charges stuck. He took a plea deal, 3 years probation, community service, mandatory restitution payments, and a felony on his record. No prison, but no more finance work either. His license was revoked permanently. Melanie divorced him quietly. Took the kids, the house, and her parents made sure Derek wasn't welcome. He now lives in a 1-bedroom apartment in Norwood. He drives a used Corolla. I didn't gloat. I didn't dance on his downfall. But I made sure he saw me in court every step of the way. Strong. Clear-headed. Not a victim. A few months after the ruling, he sent me a letter. Not an apology. Just more excuses. He said I'd ruined his life to make a point. He still doesn't get it. I didn't want revenge. I wanted justice. I wanted the truth to matter. And it did. Now, my finances are locked down tight. Rita helps me with everything, and I hired a CPA I trust. I sleep better. I eat better. I feel like I'm finally safe. I still see my grandkids. Melanie lets them visit. Quietly. Privately. They're old enough now to know something happened. I don't lie, but I don't poison them either. I just say, your dad made some bad choices, and I had to protect myself. They nod. They understand more than they say. Derek taught me something hard but true. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. And silence is never protection. If someone tries to steal your voice, you scream until the world hears you. And when they try to take your life apart piece by piece, you make damn sure they feel every nail when it all comes crashing down.